Welcome to this demo on Juniper Secure Connect and RSA multi-factor authentication. For this demo today, we have an SRX, which is configured to use Radius to talk to the RSA identity router. The RSA identity router is a small, lightweight VM that's available from RSA to facilitate communications between Radius, Active Directory, and the cloud for push notification. When we enter our username and password in Secure Connect, it starts a connection request to the SRX, which sends that via Radius to the RSA identity router. It does a lookup on Active Directory for the username and password. If this is all okay, it then sends the secondary auth request to the RSA Cloud Authentication Service, which then pushes a notification to the RSA Secure ID Authenticate app. If we accept this, then we send a notification response back to the RSA Cloud Authentication Service, which then replies back to the RSA Identity Router and sends a Radius response back to the SRX, allowing that connection to occur. Now let's have a look at that.
Let's start with the configuration of the VPN on the SRX. We're just going to click on the VPN, have a look at the configuration. For this RSA configuration, we're using Radius. It is a standard setup in terms of how you would configure to a Radius server. We have configured the Radius settings as an authentication profile here, which is going to point to the RSA Radius server, and pretty much everything else is the same as you would normally do for any particular Radius server, the secret, etc., and the IP pool. So, say from the SRX perspective, very, very standard, very, very simple setup of configuration. From the Secure ID perspective, what we need to do is set up what we call an identity router, or an IDR in Secure ID RSA terminology. The IDR is a VM that is deployed on either Hyper-V, VMware, or AWS. If you have an RSA authentication server, you can deploy the IDR as part of that RSA authentication server as well. Once you've deployed it on the network, you provide the IP address details, log in, and then what you need to do is go to the Connect administration console, whereby you need to enter some details. So if we just jump across to the Secure ID server quickly, we look at identity routers here, where we add, if we edit this existing one, and we see under registration here, we can generate a code and the authentication service domain that we're going to use. And this is something that's created when you create your Secure ID Cloud administration portal credentials. You create your authentication service domain there as well. So we take those details, we enter them here into the IDR and hit connect, and that then the IDR goes out and connects to the Secure ID clouds and sets up all the communications for you. Once that is done, that's all you have to do with the IDR. Everything else is done from the from the cloud portal. So just go back here to the dashboard. When you log into the dashboard, you can see what's been set up. So we've got an identity router already placed, which is here. You can see that's on, it's a VM on VMware. If we drop down, we can get to see the status of all the services that we configured on it. Once we have the IDR deployed, we would go into users and do identity sources. And here is where we add our Active Directory as an identity source for the users that we're going to use for the authentication. So it's pretty straightforward as well. I took all the defaults that it provided, and I set up my base DN, give the IP address to the server, and connect it in, and it synchronizes all the attributes for me. So once the users are synchronized, you will see them in here in the management domain. We're going to search for the user we're going to use for this demo, and we log in, and we can see some details around that particular user. Now, for this demo, we're using the push authenticator. That's what we support. So you can deploy that client on iOS, Android, Windows, Mac, and we're using a Windows 10, and I'll show you that in a moment. But here, when we set up a user first, we have to select the app, then we generate a code that we use then to register that client, the authenticator client, with this user. I'll show you the client in a moment. The other thing we need to do is also we need to set up our radius. So we go into authentication clients and add a radius client and profile in there. So you just set up the VSRX, give it the IP address, the shared secret, and that is it basically to go from there. So again, as I say, just take the defaults and away we go. And that's it in terms of all the configuration. If you do make any changes here, you will see here you need to publish changes. So you publish that, and that pushes the changes from the cloud network right down to the IDR and pushes all that and sets all that configuration up down there. So, you know, it's fairly straightforward in terms of the setup and configuration. So VPN radius profile on the VSRX. Create your secure ID cloud profile, and then provide the registration details to the IDR once you've deployed it on VMware. Set up your Active Directory synchronization via LDAP. Set up your radius authentication, a radius profile for the VSRX to connect to, and that's as far as the administration of the service goes. So we're now going to look at the Windows 10 side of things. So on the user side here, we have a connection profile set up for the user and Secure Connect. From the RSA perspective, we've installed the RSA Secure ID Authenticate app. If you go into accounts, we see we've got an account added for the user we had on the cloud portal, Lynn Black. To do that, as I was showing in the previous part of the demo, we generate an ID. We use the Juniper as the organization identity that we created at our when we set up the cloud portal first, and then we have a unique code and the email address we enter, and that registers this client with that user's profile against the records in the cloud portal. When it's set up, that's all you need to do. So what we're going to do now is just show you the authentication process. So we can say kick off ping here. We haven't got a connection, and the same here for the. So click on connect. Type in the username. Hit OK. You get a prompt for approval. Hit approve. And we see then the connection profile goes ahead and sets up the tunnel. Very, very simple, very, very straightforward in terms of how to set up and how to use that. This same client as well can be registered on as a Android and iOS, as I said. So if you use the mobile, you get a pop-up on that, and you have to approve the connection there. So that gives you that connection into the Secure Connect and allows that profile to continue. We just refresh the web page, and yes, we can get access to the server. So that's how straightforward it is to set up RSA Secure ID Authenticate for push notifications and second factor authentication from Juniper Secure Connect.